Yo, what's up? This is Dobly again, and tonight I'm gonna talk about a topic that a former mainland Chinese boxer. I call him CCP boxer. I will tell you why I call him a CCP boxer, right? But the point is that a CCP boxer got beat up in a bus by a group of Aborigine people in Australia, along with his wife. And I don't think that's because Asian people is weaker. I don't think so. So as a matter of fact, you can see now the Asian boxing culture and boxers are really on the rise, especially when you talk about Naoya Inoue and Junto Nakatani, right? The famous Japanese boxers, as well as the boxers from mainland China, like Zhilei Zhang or Zhang Zhilei. Well, he's a Chinese boxer, but I don't call him a CCP boxer. And I'll tell you why, right? So I don't think the Asian race is a weak race, right? I'm not a racist. I'm not racist against my own people, nor I don't support a minor group of the racists in the West as well. West is not far from being perfect, right? We do have some racists existing out here. But of course, most people here, they're pretty fair. They respect everybody, right? They respect themselves. However, there are some Western people, they don't believe that Asian people can fight. Actually, Asian people can fight and Asian people can run. Look at Su Bingtian, right? And Asian people can swim. Look at, Pan Zhanle. That guy swim, faster than any white people in the world, right? So, well, no discrimination, this and that. I'm just trying to tell you that every race is equal, right? We have different strengths and weaknesses, but we're at the end of the day, we're all human beings. Like I said, I'm a wordless. So no offense to anybody, right? Do not be offended by my contents, because I'm just trying to present you in a way that's a little bit subjective, based on my ideas. So, the thing is like this, right? I kind of forgot the name of this Chinese boxer, this CCP boxer, but he's not very famous, right? He's not like Naoya Inoue or Junto Nakatani, right? So the thing is that in Australia, right, in a bus, he's riding along with his wife. And they're discriminated against Chinese. Well, this is pretty wrong, right? I'm not trying to say, if they're CCP guys, right? If they come from mainland China, they deserve to be disrespected. They deserve to be discriminated against. Well, I'm against that because everybody is equal. We have the same human rights. Even if he's a former CCP member or something, he speaks highly of Chinese government, but as long as he's not committing any crime here in Australia, or in the US, right? There in Australia, you have no right to discriminate against him just because he looks Asian, just because he is Asian, right? So one of the Aborigine people shout out, F off, Chinese, things like that. Get the hell out of our country, get the F out of our country, things like that. And his wife, the boxer's wife, just shout back, fuck off, or like, shut up, things like that, right? Stop talking like that. And then, things get aggravated, escalated pretty quickly because the Aborigines, that they have a short temper. So they just rush in, they're trying to fight the wife. And so this guy stood out trying to protect his wife, right? So it ended up that all the Aborigines were trying to attack this guy as well. And one of them had the screwdriver in his hand. I don't know if it's a female or male, but one of the Aborigines have a screwdriver in his hand and try to punch him, try to punch a hole in his skull. It's pretty dangerous, that's a killing machine. That's a killing tool there. But, because this guy, at the end of the day, no matter whether he's a good boxer or a bad boxer, at least he's a boxer, his dodging skill is a little bit better than the average people, general public. So he's dodged that. But still, he got scratches over his head. And it's just like 1 centimeter away from being death. If the screwdriver dives in, that's the end of the game. And he got beat up. And so this kind of incident, it just instigated a lot of comment and controversies over the X or Twitter community, in Chinese Twitter communities, right? We have a lot of debate, we have a lot of controversies about this kind of thing. Many people are against him, say he's a coward, If you're a professional boxer, why not show your skills? Why not try to, defend multiple people? and just fight them off or trying to just hurt them, right? Because you're a professional boxer, you know how to control your fist, not to hurt, not to kill that people, not to kill them, right? But to to make some damage, make some proper damage to scare them off, things like that. So we have a lot of controversies, but some people say, oh, if you start fighting, you probably kill them, right? And that you will bring yourself into legal trouble. Some people say he's a coward because in that moment, who'd think something else, anything else about protecting his own life as well as his wife's life, right? So at that moment, you should do whatever you could do. It's a righteous self-defense. And some people say, oh, that's a different story because that's not in the U.S., right? If that's happened in the U.S., some people threw a knife at you, they're trying to stab you, you can pull out a gun and just end his life. Because if he's trying to stab you by a screwdriver or a dagger or something, right, you have the right, unlimited right of self-defense. So you can pull out a gun and end his life, right? That's the U.S. But we're talking about Australian law system, which is very different from the U.S. law, right? So they said in Australia, if somebody tried to attack you, if they had already attacked you, but if you attack back, that's your responsibility if you hurt him. So I think that's absurd. I don't know whether, I haven't really verified the authenticity of the information source, right? I don't know whether that's a fake news or that's some distorted version of interpretation of Australian criminal law, right? I don't know if that is true or not. But if that is half true, this is pretty unreasonable, right? I feel like if you are under attack and they're gonna kill you, right? You have the unlimited right to fight back, to defend your life, even by killing that person. Well, violence is not justified in most cases, but it is justified when they are trying to use violence to end your life. This is by our, American understanding of things, right? But I do respect Australia as a country. I do respect their law system if that is really so different from American law system. But like I said, I don't know whether that's totally true or not. Maybe some people just they're fabricating a lie. They're trying to instigate more debate. They're trying to have more followers over them because we're living in an age of social influence, right? Many influencers, they're trying to get fans. They have to exaggerate a little bit, maybe not just a little bit. They have to exaggerate by 10 inches, things like that. So the thing is that some people think this guy is a coward. You wasted so many years to become a boxer and then you're still a coward. You're not justified you're not justifying Asians' fighting power. You're not defending Asian people's reputation. You're an Asian guy who was bullied mercilessly by a group of Aboriginal gangsters, right? And you make China lose face. You make Asian people lose face. Well, I think it's too much exaggeration here because you have to switch position with this guy. If you were him, what would you do, right? I'm thinking about if I were him, of course, I would try my fucking best to fight these guys off. Probably, my fist would kill one of them. I'm not trying to encourage, anybody to kill, Aborigine attackers, this and that, because if they're just trying to punch you, they're not trying to kill you. But if you accidentally end up in killing them, you will drag yourself into legal trouble. But heck that. If I sense that I had a slim chance of being killed by these group of gangsters there, you know what I would do? I don't give a damn. I would try my best to fight for my life and fight for my wife's life. I'm trying to defend my righteous right of human, when we talk about human rights, right? The most fundamental human rights is right of survival, is a living rights. If you can't leave, what else you have? If you're not even alive, you don't have any other rights. You don't have the voting rights because it's a dead person already, right? So in that circumstance, if I was him, right, I would definitely fight back fiercely, use whatever I've learned from all the boxing practices, all these trainings, all the street fights experience from my childhood, using my fist or even using a brass knuckle or even use a dagger. Heck yeah, because that guy trying to use a screwdriver to drill a hole in my skull. I have my every damn right to defend myself. There's a saying that in China, in the Chinese culture, right? I'm not saying it's a CCP thing. It's not a CCP thing. It's a Chinese community thing, right? You say you better be that person live in a prison, then the person hand on the wall. Yeah, if you are the person hand on the wall in black and white photo, which means you're dead already, right? So you better be that the person in prison, but at least you're alive. I'm not trying to instigate any violence or racial discrimination, this and that. My purpose is to say that everybody is created equal. Asian, white, black, Aborigines, whoever you are, you have to respect other people. But if not, the other people is not respecting you, that's one thing. But if the other people is trying to kill you, you have every damn right to defend yourself. Unlimited power of violence to defend yourself, because if they're trying to kill you, that's another story. You can never be a coward. So that's why I call this guy a CCP boxer, because you know what? I don't give a damn whether this person really believes in communism or not, or believes the bullshit created by CCP, right? I don't really believe this guy believes in all the propaganda that's created by CCP or not. I just think the behave, they make him a coward, which pretty much like a CCP. You know what I'm looking at? You know what I'm talking about? You should be proud of yourself, should be proud of your identity. But when other people is attacking you, unlawfully, if they're trying to, they're using a screwdriver, that might kill you. I mean, I'm not joking. So in that circumstances, show them what you have, show them what you got. Are you a fake boxer, right? Did you win all the boxing match in China by, giving bribery to the boxing officials? Then shame on you, right? You're a CCP boxer because you're fake. Now, let's talk about Japanese boxers got worldwide respect, right? We're talking about Naoya Inoue, the greatest boxing genius ever created by God. No matter whether you believe in God or not, I'm just using this as a metaphor, right? That's the best creation of the universe. He just he move on different weight classes. I don't recall exactly 4 weight classes or 5 weight classes, right? But this guy always dominated over his opponent. No matter we're talking about his fellow Japanese opponent or white opponent or black opponent, he always dominated. That's what I'm talking about. That's why Naoya Inoue and his counterpart, his possible opponent next year, right? Junto Nakatani, they are two of the greatest representatives of Asian sportsmanship, athleticism, right? And they are prideful. So many people love them. Not just the Asian people, but also Mexico people, Spanish, American people. Many boxing fans love them. And Naoya Inoue is a pound for pound is P4P number 1 in my mind, right? Crawford is number 2. And then maybe Canelo, maybe some other guys, So that's what I'm talking about. Because Japanese people, usually they would be more rational in dealing with this kind of things, right? They are not a coward when facing objections like that. I'm not talking about a general, I'm talking about mild aggression. I'm talking about a real aggression that might end your life. Well, not everybody is athletic as Naoya Inoue, right? Many people never learn how to fight. Many people do not have any muscle. Many Asian people, our culture was kind of, tame the culture compared with most other cultures in the world, right? We have our advantage. That is, the Confucianism. I'm talking about original Confucianism without the, the updated version in China for later, right? The original Confucianism does not discourage violence. So for the righteous purpose of the violence, for the self-defense, is totally, is righteous. It doesn't mean you're an evil person, okay? But later on, they're trying to say, oh, having sex is bad for you, and it's evil, and, this, being assertive is bad for you. You should follow the kings. You should follow this and that. So they teach people to follow the kings blindly. That is a downfall of the Han Chinese culture. So that's why, Xi Jinping say, well, China is trying to regaining its, cultural dominance, is trying to regaining its former, past glory, whatever that is. I don't personally agree with the Xi Jinping's version, because as a communist of China, the CCP's version, that is unfair to the general public in China. I'm talking about if China were to become a democratic country, if China can rise peacefully and coexist with a lot of superpower in the world, China is great again. So make China great again, we must overturn CCP or democratize CCP to make it less threatening to the world. That's another thing. Anyway, so think about it. Why a lot of CCP guys, why a lot of people, formerly just like me, come from mainland China, but I behave drastically different. I get along with a lot of Western friends of mine. I get popular in the street. Like I have muscle. I wear very fashion stuff. People say, "Hey, what's up, bro?" People treat me as bro. People don't really see me as a typical, CCP guy. I'm not a CCP guy, no. I just used to live in the CCP's domain, right? But I don't believe CCP. I'm not a CCP member. Okay, be aware. So I get a kind of preferential treatment or something like that. I hate that, I want everybody, ideally to be respected, to be treated equally. But we have a lot of tragedies inside the Chinese community itself. Many people, they're not even respecting themselves. If they're not respecting themselves, how could you expect them to be respected by other races, right? They're trying to worship. They're trying to worship the white people, black people. They're trying to worship. It's one thing that you can learn from the goodness of other races or other cultures. For example, openness, sense of humor. But it's another thing that you're trying to humiliating yourself by disbelieving your own race. We come across a lot of people like that in Asian community, That's pretty bad because they haven't realized how good Asian people are, how strong we are, and how we can fight. How intelligent we are. This seriously, they're the sick man of Asia, right? Like 100 years ago, right? 东亚本肤. It means they're weak. Their body is slim and they don't have any muscle and they just have the humpback, something like that, and just look like an old man and they're just like things like that. That was a pretty old image of Asian people, like 100 or 200 years ago, but not anymore. Not anymore. Why it was like that, I'm not trying to dig deep into the reason. It has a historical reason because of the Opium War, because the Qing dynasty was a corruptive dynasty that the general public do not have very good nourishment. So that's why they lack muscle mass, they lack nutrition in their diet, they lack protein, but not anymore, trust me, okay? Look at my muscle here. I'm not trying to be boastful, right? But I'm just saying that, and also my muscle is not for the showing only, I can fight, I'm just like, I had been training mixed martial arts for about 5 years already, and before that, I learned boxing, 3 years prior to that. So my muscle, the way I build my physique is not by just go to the gym, doing a popping iron thing. I respect, iron pumpers, right? But me, it's different, I do a lot of resistance training. I do a lot of calisthenics. I do a lot of cardio workout. So basically, you can see that my muscle, is like a sling muscle, but I don't have a lot of fat tissue with me. So that's the thing, and also in a workout parks, right? In a calisthenic park, I can do that push-up like, 30 in a row, like standard push-up. So many people younger than me, I'm 40 years old, by the way. I also look a lot younger than my physical age. But many people, and they're 25, right? They can just do 5. Some people, they can never do 1. I can do 30 in 1 set. And if I rest for 2 minutes, I can do the second set. That's it. So I think Asian people is very, very, it's like very well built. Think about the Chinese weightlifters, right? Like Liu Xiaojun, or, I'm not trying to praise CCP athletes, but you have to admit, right? I dislike CCP. I want to run away from CCP. I dislike the autocracy there, right? But you have to admit that Asian people are good. I'm not saying Asian people is better than anybody else. I'm not a racist, right? I just want to say that everybody is equal. But why the CCP guys, a lot of mainland Chinese guys, they got no respect. It's because, first of all, CCP never taught them how to do the self-respect. They hate on themselves. If they hate on themselves, how they can be respected by other people? Because they have no confidence. That's the first thing. Secondly, CCP taught them to be a coward. We're talking about boxers, right? Even the boxers do not dare to fight back. What about the general public, right? I'm not saying like everybody will behave like cowardly like he did, right? I'm different, but more people, they might fight back, not him, because he said, he made an excuse to say, oh, if I were to fight back, I might lose my career path here in Australia because I have a criminal record. I mean, the heck about criminal record? I'm not trying to encourage you to become a criminal, but let's say they're trying to kill you, bro. They're trying to kill you. Why not fight back? That's the moment you have to defend for yourself or defend your wife. That's because you're the husband, right? You should protect your wife. So, so that's the thing about, like the culture, conflict and even racial conflict. I'm not trying to, instigate more of that, right? Because we've had enough. So the thing is about that, we have to understand why many Chinese people overseas got bullied. It's because even if they are not as directly a CCP member, but their mind has been tamed and brainwashed by the CCP, make them the victim. So they're just like sheep. They are not wolves. They are not able to fight back. But be aware that do not mess up with, Asian guys as well, because some Asian guys can really fight, like me or some other of my friends or something, you see, like from X post, right? From Twitter, that Japanese guy with long hair and glass, unlike my glass is a little bit like fly, right? More like a hip hop glass, right? It's more like yeah. But they're just wearing, that Japanese guy's wearing a traditional reading glass or something like that with a golden frame or like that, with the very long hair with no muscle and all. And then the white guy's trying to, hey, get some boy. And he's trying to push him. He's always, walking back. He's saying, yeah, do you really want to start this? Pretend that he's afraid. So the white guy, and then that Asian guy, pop, headshot, like face, like right straight, one right straight, and the white guy's down. I'm not trying to instigate more riot between these two races, right? Everybody's equal. I have a lot of white friends. I respect everybody. I'm just trying to say, do not mess up with the Asian dude just because he does not look like a fighter. Because some people, you have to use the old idiom like never judge a book by its cover, right? That's it. But I'm just trying to explain to you why some CCP guys get disrespected. You see, this guy is just like a coward. No offense, right? We have coward in every race, in every culture. But I'm just saying, I'm proud of the Asian boxers like Naoya Inoue, Junto Nakatani, and also Zhilei Zhang, even though he's Chinese. But his mind is not CCP mind, okay? Asian people are as good as, if not better, than any other race in the world physically, okay? Respect everybody. Enjoy the world, enjoy the beautiful world, okay? Created by God or universe or higher rank or sixth division, sixth dimension, whatever you call it. Quantum physics, this and that, okay? We're living a wonderful world. Enjoy our life and respect each other. That's it. See you next time.